Well, folks, I'd invite you all to be seated. And good afternoon. Welcome to this sanctuary of Lakeview United Church, as we all come to honor the life of Donalda Adrian Cormier. This may have been one of Donalda's hopes all the way through life, that when it ended for her, she would have liked nothing more than to have all of you come together, as she had probably invited many of you to come and share in her world. This is a place of beginnings and a place of endings, and in between these beginnings and endings are countless stories, memories and joys, and of course, there's always a sadness. But all these things make up our lives, and they round them out. So this afternoon, we begin with one of the strongest words that it's always been echoed in the confines of this world. That word is love. So what really is this word, love? Well, love is always like a soft and a small whisper, not a bunch of irritating noise. Love is that vision of colorful leaves that are floating upon a still pool of sparkling water, not the crashing of floodwaters. Love is a song and the echo of the flute, not the screech and the grinding of metal upon metal. Love is a soothing touch, one that caresses your heart. This is love's strength. Love invites. Love doesn't force. And love is a gentle campfire, one of those gorgeously warm summer's evenings. And we all gather around it as friends and family and as strangers, which are welcomed with open arms, and we're warmed to the soul. My definition of what love is. You know, I have a bit of a sense and a hope that these may have been some of the words which Donalda may have abided by and would have left to all of you as one of her many, many blessings. So upon this day, this Saturday, the 7th of February, we all come together to honor her life, and we come to be with the family and to connect with each other. May each of us pull up a lawn chair around the old campfire and share in the warmth and the memories in the community which it brings, and share in our stories and recollections of Donalda. So my name, in case some of you don't know, is Reverend Jope Langejans, and I feel truly honored in being invited to share in this day with all of you. I have represented this community of faith here in Calgary for the past 12 years and have really only known Donalda and parts of her family for a short time, but a wonderful time. You know, situations such as this, such as memorial services and weddings, anniversaries, and the such that gather people together, makes all of us become connected. It connects us in ways in which we'll never know. And I sense that Donalda knew this, as she continually honored all of you and held you up in her greatest esteem. This afternoon is a simple but meaningful service of farewell. It will consist of a little prayer and a reading from the sacred text, and of course memories of Donalda from one of her daughters, Brandie, a poem from Grace, a few special hymns, and the gift of song from Amy Bishop, with an ending into the Mystic from Van Morrison. And we will hear it twice today, which is interesting. We welcome Cody Obst, who's our pianist this afternoon, and Donalda absolutely loved his presence on the piano and the organ. She mentioned this many, many times. So hopefully all the things we do today together will be a fitting farewell for one who was so well loved. Let's open with a word of prayer. Bow your heads if you need to. Take a breath. O God, O Holy One, the angels are surrounding this child of the morning, this wonderful woman of grace. And their words to her are, your journey has just begun. And you, O God, who were there in the moment that she was born, will surround her once again with love and compassion. And we know there's a universe in every child and every person, and that your voice calls to the chaos of our time and space. We give thanks that your Spirit moves across the waters of our world, that there is movement, that there is light, that there is a promise of hope. Let each of us that has eyes to see, see, and ears to hear, hear. In the depths of our silence and our remembering, no words are needed. For in the depths of that silence, we are called, each of us, to listen. For God, you come to us again and again and again. So may your presence be felt among us this afternoon. Amen. Well, folks, there's a hymn which had been chosen for this afternoon, and you'll find it on page 278 in the Red Voices United hymn book that you have in front of you there. The words will also be up on the screen. It's in the quiet curve of evening. And I'd invite you to stand if you're able, and the family, if you'd like to, may remain seated, or you can stand if you wish. Let's all stand together.
In the quiet curve of evening, in the sinking of the days, in the silky void of darkness, you are there. In the lapses of my breathing, in the space between my ways, in the crater carved by sadness, you are there. You are there. You are there. You are there. In the rest between the phrases, in the cracks between the stars, in the gaps between the meaning, you are there. In the melting down of endings, in the cooling of the sun, in the solstice of the winter, you are there. You are there. You are there. You are there. In the mystery of my hungers, in the silence of my rooms, in the cloud of my unknowing, you are there. In the empty cave of grieving, in the desert of my dreams, in the tunnel of my sorrow, you are there. You are there. You are there. You are there.
I invite you all to be seated. Well, folks, today, all of us have been brought together by a time of celebration, a celebration of Donalda's life, a life that has touched probably all of us in some way, including myself. And we've been brought together by life's greatest expression, which is love. Love for her, and also love for those who were closest to her. So David, 56 years of marriage, and probably more years when you were courting or dating, and the two of you were still trying to figure each other out. You walked the valleys and the hills together. and you climbed the mountains. You lay on the beaches of the world together. You both drank from the waters of life. Maybe even margaritas too, I'm not sure, but that would be it. And you swam in the oceans of living and loving. You danced under the stars. You cradled your children. And you rocked your grandchildren to sleep. You shared tears of sadness and tears of laughter. And at the end of the day, you said to each other, thank you. Thank you for being you. And to love is to sometimes feel pain and grief. It never really ends, but it changes. It's a passage, it's not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor is it a lack of faith. It's a price we pay sometimes for love. May each of us here today help you through those dark times, and may we add a little laughter into your life, especially in those times when you need it the most. And Brandie and Jennifer, how do you say goodbye to the one who has raised you from the beginning, the one who walked with you through all the pathways of life, the one who journeyed with you through the hills and the valleys and days of sunshine, and of cool evenings and rain and snow and whatever else the weather puts before all of you? How do you say goodbye to one who you so much loved? And it's never simple, and it's truly painful. It's lonely, and may you know that each of us stands with you and holds you and journeys with you. That's what we are. We're a community together of family and friends. And may we all help you through the days of darkness and sadness. And may you know that we're as close to you as breath. Mom was real special in your lives, as most moms can be. It's real tough to say goodbye, but 56 years of living and loving, she did very well. Mom, I'm sure, will always be remembered in your hearts. And Tim, I'm sure that Donalda was one awesome mother-in-law to you. Yeah? Yeah. There's no one better. There you go. And the 6 grandchildren that you have here. How fortunate some of you have known your grandma. For in her eyes, you couldn't do anything wrong. Trust me, how blessed you are to have known her for all those years. So hold those memories in your heart. And to her older sister, Shirley, is Shirley here? There's Shirley. And her family in Medicine Hat. How fortunate to have known Donalda in your lives, and may you always be remembered as one who held you in her highest esteem. And others who are here this afternoon and coming to honor her, thank you for being here and being a blessing in Donalda's life. I've chosen one scripture passage for today, and it comes from, believe it or not, it comes from the Proverbs, and it's different parts of chapter 31. So I pulled different parts of it out to epitomize what Donalda's life was all about. A capable mother, who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her also, and he will have no lack of gain. She girds herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her happy, and they say, "Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all." And a woman who trusts in God is to be praised. interesting when you pull parts of Proverbs out. Amy Bishop, I'm going to bring you forward, and you're going to be sharing in all of us in your wonderful gift of music. That's amazing, Now, I keep thinking of Donalda has now gone into the mystic. I mean, that's where she's gone. So, so Brandie, I'm going to bring you forward, and you get to share with us about her mom as she offers us a tribute and one so much love. So, Brandie, up to you.
Hi, everybody. Well, my mom would have said this is a good crowd. And that I don't need to be too worried. Of course, most of you know what a big public speaker she was and how important that was to her in her life. And so I'm going to start by saying the two biggest fears that most of us have are public speaking and death. And here we are. So today, in true Donalda fashion, I'm going to be looking at both of those. Donalda believed that when things were scary, you take a deep breath and you do it anyways. As a family, we've known that my mom's death was close at hand. Gosh, it feels like probably almost 5 years. It's been a while. And that hasn't been an easy reality to live with. But strangely, I feel a deep gratitude that we got to experience that with her. Because I think that we had lots of time together to confront that together. And even though my mom lived her life really fully before she knew how sick she was, She truly took it up a notch as she prepared. And she prepared all of us for her passing too. It wasn't something we didn't talk about. She lived as deeply and intentionally as she could, and was public speaking right up to the very end as she prepared a little note or a little talk for each one of the grandkids, and we recorded them at the hospital. So thank you, Mom, for that. Working right until the very end. I wasn't sure where I wanted to start today because there's so many things I want to say about my mom and remember. I've been keeping lists, which was something that she also loved to do, and all of the things that mattered to her and what she taught us, trying to organize it into something that made sense and was really a meaningful story of her life. My mom told the story of her father's life when she spoke at his funeral in 2018. Both of my parents spoke that day, and I remember how touched and proud I was listening to them talk about Grandpa Ozzie. 2 years ago, my Grandma Grace died. And again, my parents recognized her gifts and her unique spirit. So, Dad, today I hope I can do the same for Mom. Donalda grew up back and forth between her grandparents' Saskatchewan farms and small town Alberta. She told us stories about farm life, cooking, helping her mom, and being a mechanic's daughter. There were photos of her, Shirley, Audrey, Moretta, and Glenda, smoking cigarettes and drinking out of whiskey bottles to look cool. Or her and Shirley playing at the farm, or playing dress-up, and later pretending to fix Grandpa Ozzie's cars. She was a busy child, and her answer to her parents' question, "What were you doing?" was always, "I wasn't running." She got a lot of scrapes and bruises and broken bones. She also faced serious health problems as a child, and those challenges formed her character. She was a fighter. And someone who prioritized health and fitness throughout her life. When we were kids, she skipped like a demon to disco music in the kitchen, while Jennifer and I tried to dodge past her to get homemade cookies. My mom and dad got married young, and from the beginning, they were ambitious together. They gardened side by side. My dad built sheds and fences and a sandbox for Jennifer and I. And later, they built several houses together, one of which Brendan helped them build in Invermere, which was a really special thing. I'm pretty sure my mom supervised every house that got built, because if she used a hammer or any kind of power tool, she totally would have hurt herself. But she was an excellent manager of all things domestic. She was an executive who cooked, who cleaned, who baked, who sewed drapes. She played the piano when Jennifer and I fell asleep at night. I loved that. I wish I had more recordings of her playing the piano. Jennifer and I both loved and were just a tiny bit terrified of our mom as kids. If she said, "Brandie, come here, I want to talk to you," oh my God, I knew I was in trouble. And those icy blue eyes, Jennifer, am I right? Felt like they could look right through you, and she knew everything that happened. You never wanted to be in trouble with her. And yet those eyes were so beautiful. Everyone commented about my mom's eyes. They were windows into her soul, a soul that was strong, gentle, intelligent, sharp, disciplined, stubborn, unwavering, never looking away from difficult things, and also full of joy and a willingness to play. Because Donalda was playful, really playful actually, and that was true even with her very incredibly competitive spirit. She loved card games, Scrabble, strategy games, kids games, playing in the pool, funny movies, of course my dad's jokes, ridiculous skits that poked fun at everyday life. But she hated pop culture quiz games because they meant that she was going to lose to the TV experts, Jennifer and David. And her comment during this time was always, "I don't know anything about that. I was too busy working." But she did like watching movies, and one of her favorite movies was Moonstruck, probably because she could use it as material for her work. She also loved comedians, especially when they talked about food. That woman loved cake. My mom and dad always danced. We loved watching them when they got ready to go out. My mom in her beautiful Wayne Clark dresses. My dad always looking handsome in his suit. They danced in the kitchen, in the living room. They pretty much danced in every room in the house until my mom couldn't dance anymore. And I remember thinking when I was little, when I grow up, I hope I find someone who can dance as well as my dad. My mom prioritized education back when women weren't encouraged to do that. She got a bachelor's degree when she was 7 months pregnant with me. And when they were at the convocation, there was a woman sitting behind my Grandma Grace who whispered quite loudly, "Oh my God, she's 7 months pregnant." And my grandma turned around and said, "Yes, that's my daughter-in-law, and she's graduating with a bachelor's degree with great distinction." Later, when Jen and I were in elementary school, she went to Toronto to become a life coach, and then she got her master's degree. She moved us to Calgary. She supported my dad while he got his master's degree, and she also was 100% behind Jennifer and I, along with my dad, when we got our education. Through all this, it was my dad and 3 women, baking together, hiking together, and so much laughter along the way. We're a pretty tight unit. And then there were weddings and grandkids. She received nicknames and was called Grandma Darling by my kids, and Gigi by Jennifer and Tim's kids. And Grandma loved all of you so much. She wanted all 6 of you to have the same quality and amount of time that Jennifer and I got with our grandparents. So she really made sure with Grandpa to make time for you guys. Not many kids get to have their grandparents around as much as you 6 did. And that was a gift that she deeply treasured. She and Grandpa also made time to take all of you on at least one special vacation, and I'm really glad for that you all got to do that. Dad and Jennifer and I sat and thought of the words that Mom would want to use to describe each one of you. Lucas, a dreamer, full of loving kindness. Grace, creative supernova, the ballerina. Rosa, the precise technician, still waters run deep. Aubrey, the performer and self-taught musician. John, the thinker and the quiet clown. And August, the insightful questioner and artist. Thank you, by the way, for sitting in the order that I had down here, because that would have been really hard. Donalda loved family so much. Being an aunt to Brendan and Adrian and Colin was so very important to her. She was still a teen when Brendan was born and a newlywed when Adrian and Colin came along. Helping take care of them and being part of their lives was a real joy. And as my cousins had children, 9 altogether, she celebrated the birth of every one of them. She even went to Disneyland with Lennon and Vaughn, and she always looked forward to seeing and hearing about her great nieces and nephews. One of her biggest frustrations with being sick over the last years was that it robbed her of being able to do things with all of us. She was often, she would say things like that she didn't know people as fully as she would have really liked to, and that was so hard. I think that's the hardest part of knowing that you're sick for a really long time, is letting go is incredibly difficult. Oh my gosh, there's so many other things to say. My mom was, in many ways, a bit of a princess, as we all know. I once nicknamed her Princess Donalda Fenderbender in my early 20s, and somehow that stuck up until the very end. She loved beautiful things. She loved fine things and sparkly things, and she embodied that love in how she dressed and in the homes that she so thoughtfully and tastefully decorated. Even her name suited her. No one ever shortened it. She was not a Donna. She was Donalda. Regal, distinctive, and truly herself. She also had a great sense of adventure. She was up to anything, and she hated missing out. She was the first one up, the first one to phone to make plans. She never missed celebrating birthdays, and she hated it when she missed time with Jen and I. She always wanted to come along. I think she would be kind of angry that she didn't get to hear this speech. She'd have been like, it's my day, damn it. And if she could have, when she was in the hospital, she would have helped me edit this speech. She was my editor of all things. It was really hard for her to sit back when I had her early 75th birthday in June and let me plan it. You know, if she was walking well enough and doing things well enough, she would have been right in there. And I'm so thankful to Don and Cynthia and for helping me out that day, and to Colin and everybody who helped out. It was really a special day. Well, even into the fall, I knew that if I was up, she was up, and she was ready for anything that I floated. She was a person that you wanted as your wing woman, or vice versa. She would have said that she was Maverick and that Jen and I were Goose. My mom had a cell phone before anybody else, and she kept the same number for over 30 years. She probably invented FOMO. Heaven forbid that you went out for a latte or cake without her. But she was terrible with lyrics, and she also got the names wrong for many, many songs. The famous 1980s song, Careless Whisper, will forever be known as Guilty Feet in our family. She was always willing to try something new. Her love of swimming led to snorkeling, even though she loved water. She water skiing, wave pools, water slides, those were like mortal enemies to her. She always got hurt. She was so good at the things that she did, but those things, absolutely not. There were many trips home from Elkwater with water skiing injuries. And then remember the time that we drove over her with the boat? Her love of travel and hiking led her and my dad to backpack through Europe after Jen and I, of course, had done it. And later, Mom and Dad met Jen and Tim in Europe when they got engaged. My parents hiked in Peru after my mom conquered ovarian cancer. And they traveled in Germany and visited England, but her greatest love was always Maui. And we'll be heading over there next week to scatter her ashes there. About her career as a human resources specialist, I will say, working with her was very difficult. She had very high standards, but it was also incredibly good. I learned so much. I loved being her sidekick. I loved that she was my teacher. I loved apprenticing under her, and I wish I could have done more. But my commitments with my own family, there's no way I could keep up with her intense pace. People often commented when we worked together that I inherited a lot of her hand gestures and mannerisms. And I love teasing her about those things. One of my favorites was when she would point her fingers like this. She'd go like this, and then she'd use her middle finger. Like, Mom, put your middle finger away. And Jennifer's got lots of other good ones that she can imitate too. But truly, all of her emphatic gestures just highlighted her incredible conviction. Donalda worked really hard, and the people who were lucky enough to work with her loved her. She became friends with many of them over the years, like Sharon, who's here today, which is a testament to how good she was at her work. She could show people really difficult parts of themselves with compassion and grace. One of her clients said to her, "You're the only one who could tell me I'm full of shit and get away with it." She was also incredibly persuasive, which is probably why she could teach public speaking so well. Thank you, Mom, for teaching me, for teaching Tim, and many other people who are here today to speak the truth. For 40 years of powerful presentations, wow. And for your most powerful course inspired by the work that you did with Dad at the Hendricks, which was creating a culture of commitment. In summary, because, I did take the course, so you always end with in summary. Through her entire life, the mistakes, the good times, and the bad, Donalda showed us how to live. With courage, with beauty, with discipline, with joy, and with a willingness to face even the hardest things head on. Mom, you taught us how to take a deep breath and do it anyway. Thank you for asking me to write your eulogy, for trusting me and trusting that I knew you deeply. We love you.
Well, Brandie, that's a huge life when you start talking about all your things that your mom had done over all those different years. And so, Grace, I'm going to ask you to come up, and you've written a poem or something. Yeah, I can see what's going to happen here. There you go. Come down. Come up close to it. There you go.
Oh, wow. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I am so touched to be surrounded by so many people who, like me, have come to celebrate Donalda's life and mourn her departure from our world. I'm not going to cry. I confess that you are not the first to hear this speech, as I read it to her in the hospital before she passed. Thankfully, she deemed it sufficient. I have made a couple edits though, Grandma, but only because I now feel that I had more to say. Okay. My Grandma Gigi, for whom I thank God for every day, was the first person to hold me when I was born. I often think about the gravity of this, and that when I entered this world, the first arms that I knew were hers. She took me from the doctor and guided me to my mother. And I like to think that this set the pace for the role she would play in my life. The steady bridge that held me off the ground, leading me to where I needed to go, to the path of righteousness, the path to my family, and love and peace. As so many of you already know, Donalda was a fierce woman, strong of character and of heart, unwavering in her commitment to her family, friends, and passions. I'm so incredibly lucky to have experienced such love as hers in my life. And I'm sure that those who have experienced it understand just how lucky that they are too. My family is my family because of her. through vacations, the Invermere home, dinners, birthdays, and sleepovers. My grandmother directed the diligent construction of our family, gifting me cousins who are siblings in everything but name, and an aunt who has loved me like a second mother. With my grandfather at her side, Donalda labored in her trade, patching the cracks, carefully holding us steady as we formed and catching the pieces that might crack off. Beyond this, she was unwavering in her acceptance of all those who came along with us. From boyfriends who needed a loving hug, to friends who lacked grandparents of their own, nothing was too crowded or too much of a burden. She just held open her arms and welcomed them home. In fact, I believe that she was one of those extraordinary sorts of people who could truly make anybody feel like home. I struggle to find the words for that feeling, and I am sure that I should never feel it again. My grandmother was bright-eyed and full of life, in a way that makes me wonder if she saw more colors than I can. I remember that look so vividly in both my childhood and adult life. When I was a little girl, she would walk into a room and look down at me smiling, and I could swear the sun rose behind her. An angel sang, because nothing was more extraordinary to me than her. Donalda loved the ocean and adventures, beautiful dresses and music and cake. I could talk about her forever, though all the things I would have to say would take a lifetime, and though I cannot say it all here, I promised to her in the hospital that my children will never hear the end of the stories I have to tell of her. Like the year we missed my birthday, and I was so upset that she threw me 2 parties, or the endless nights she stayed up late because I couldn't sleep and rubbed my back, or the fact that she answered every time I called her, putting down whatever she was doing to hear about whatever teenage crisis or exciting story I had in that moment. I'm the person I am today because of her. My grandmother never gave me any reason to doubt who I was or who I wanted to be, though I hope she realized that the person I most want to be is her. She remains the steady guidepost of which I conduct my life, as I hope to actualize the dreams she had for me. Before she died, she said to me, "I have a vision of you in my head who is really great." And I hope that she is right. Even in her moments of pain and suffering, she found every way to tell me and all of her grandkids how much she loved and cherished us, and how proud she was, because that is the kind of person she was, putting her own pain aside to revel in the life she had. There were hard moments for sure, really hard moments, but ultimately Donalda was never one to give up. For someone who was so incredibly generous and spent her whole life giving and forgiving and accepting and loving, I resent how little time she got to experience what she worked so hard for, especially when I think that in the last week of her life, she was still looking at in-bed workouts with the hope that she could gain the strength to at least get home for Christmas and participate regardless of her pain. She did all of this for us. And I resent how little time I got with her, and yet how lucky am I to be given a Donalda Cormier in my life. A friend of mine told me a week after her death that he had read a study saying that the average person spends 90% of the time they will spend with their grandparents and parents in the first 20 years of their life. So I guess in a way, I've had a lifetime with her, and what a beautiful life it has been. Finally, I would like to read a quote for you. In A Room with a View, one of her favorite movies, Mr. Emerson says, "It isn't possible to love and to part. You will wish that it was. You can transmute love, ignore it, muddle it, but you can never pull it out of you. I know by experience that the poets are right. Love is eternal. And he was right. My grandmother was one of the greatest loves of my life. So, I will not part with you, Donalda Cormier. I will lick my fingers while I bake, dance when ABBA plays, find beautiful things, and make them even prettier. I will foster the memory of you, grow the seeds that you have planted in the garden that is my life, and bring you through all the chapters I haven't written yet. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, that was great. Awesome stuff. So, Tim has something he wants to share with us too. It's some career highlights. Is that what you're going to talk about? Yeah. We'll see.
Well, having taken powerful presentations, it's been a while since I've written down every word that I wanted to say. Usually I'm a high points kind of guy that then riffs. So I'll try not to riff now. It's not going to go well. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tim Sweet, Jen's husband. And I was her son-in-law. But we were other things. I had a great chance to work with her, and so I got to see a different perspective, as Brandie did, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Before I get into it, I want to just ask all of you to be a little bit honest. When we have been at funerals in the past, and somebody goes on about a person's career, and they get into some technical stuff, sometimes we have the thought, why are we talking about work here? And we're taught in this culture often that we don't really want to marry work and life. And that's not wrong for everyone. Because for many of us, work is transactional. We get paid to do a job, we go to a workplace, we toil, and when we go home, we reset. And we spend time with family and time on what's important. And that's okay. Many people retire waiting for retirement, eager to see it over, and they don't look back. They may enjoy who they work with, they may enjoy the work that they do, but it's transactional, and that's okay. And then there's others who have professions that we choose as an extension of ourselves. It is part of who we are. Our work is art. And you'll know you're one of these because you can't turn it off. You can't turn off what you do in the small hours. For these people, there's no clear line. And for years, in organizational teaching, we would talk about work-life balance. But now we talk more, especially for this group, about work-life blend, because there is no division. You don't cease being who you are when you turn off the lights in the office. Donalda was one of those people who could not turn it off. She could enjoy herself, but she was always on. She was on for her grandkids. She was on for her son-in-law and for her daughters. She was always on. And she taught me that I didn't have to turn it off either. Anybody who's been at a party with me knows that it might turn to shop talk at our family dinners. Your cousin Jared and I, Juliana's husband, would often find ourselves doing dishes because we loved to talk about business. We loved to talk about leadership Man, it was kind of annoying sometimes, I'm sure, but we couldn't turn it off. She taught me that I shouldn't turn it off and that I shouldn't try, because to do so would be to rob myself of joy and rob others of my service. Donalda often talked about how important her work was to her and how abruptly and violently she felt the loss of her career. You likely knew her enough to know that her work was important and it was defining as who she was. When we had talks over the last 5 years about her work, and then in those weeks before she passed, we still talked about the nature of our work, that we weren't teachers even though we led sessions. We were unteachers. We untaught people things. And when we were laughing at it one night when I was with her alone, I said, I'd like to speak about your career because I don't think everybody fully understands what it might be like from the inside. And she said, yeah, do that. And so that's why I'm here. Years ago, besides being a homemaker and running a drapery business, and I should say, I'm not going to make this a resume. I'm going to talk about her impact. So if you were here for a litany of dates and times and start dates and titles and stuff, you're not going to get it from me. But years ago, she taught at Medicine Hat College. She was also advocating for women, having a real presence in business, agency in the boardroom, and influence where decisions got made. And overall, the dignity of being equal voices at the table. Agency and dignity were her defining values when it came to work for me. That's what I saw. It was a red thread you could see winding through her career. It was the source of her motivation and strength when she was facilitating, I felt. When she moved into corporate work, Calgary, and then to an agency, she was soon frustrated and even let down by being managed by some with less vision and less capacity for care. And so she decided to lose that ceiling and get into a space where she could grow, and she founded Cormier Consulting Group. She wanted to be close to her clients. She didn't want to have that overhead or ego that you'd have to deal with. She wanted to be direct to them. And being a solopreneur, she needed help, extra sets of hands, and she would bring people in. And when Jen and I started dating, I would help in the garden, I would do various things. And because I was in university and I knew how to use a Mac, she would have me help her edit documents and format things and get a printer working when it needed to. And so I was one of those sets of hands. And it didn't take long before that translated into me going out and helping her with clients. But many of us did this. Brandie, Jen, and I all worked for her over the years as apprentice or assistants. But there was no presence more ubiquitous in that company and in her work than her husband and partner, David. Dave, who was the loyal go-to for so much, driving, logistics, packing her, freaking out and trying to find some piece of video in the wee hours of the morning, last minute audio and visual challenges. But he was also a heat sink. And he absorbed the frustration that an entrepreneur feels and the fear that nobody else can hear when they need to go. And you played that role for years and played it so well. And then you tripled down. And when she was sick, she knew she was using you as a heat sink. And you stood there and you did your duty loyally. It was such a loving thing to see. You see, Donalda was intense. She was never idle intellectually. In the last few weeks, she was quick as a whip, and she was sharp as a tack. I don't know how many, I didn't write that down, I'm just saying it. And we saw that she never slowed down. She was never dull. I've had a chance to thumb through the rafts of professional books that she's gifted me. Imagine you see a book Could be self-help, could be psychology, could be physiology, could be organizational dynamics. The book is covered in colorful flags and page markers. And there are scads of notes written in different pen because the book has been revisited so many times. And there are ideas that she's building on the work of these authors. And then there are ideas of where she's going to use this work. She was voracious as a reader and a processor of ideas. She would scour these books on leadership and team and culture and psychology and physiology, and she would take the most salient points and then apply them for herself, her family, for her clients, for others that she cared for. And she didn't stop at reading. She sought out favored authors, thought leaders, and then would travel the world to attend their courses, get certified, and apprentice under them directly. Donalda loved going to the source, and then she would synthesize these ideas into her work. She taught powerful presentations for those many years. She designed Culture of Commitment, and she also designed countless bespoke programs for the clients that she had, getting to the source of what they needed and customizing things for universities, municipalities, businesses, and more. She was an amazing listener. A week ago, my wife said to me, "No one will listen like my mother." And she was right. Donalda's work involved asking questions, the deep dives you take with people when you're coaching, the reflection, and then the wayfinding that you help them with. She created pivotal moments for others, and she loved to deliver a real zinger, giving that person something they could not unsee. As coaches, we shared a love for that moment when this happens, when the person's jaw drops. They're completely on tilt, and their brain is struggling to catch up because all of these untruths that they've been holding them back start to unravel in front of them, and their life resets. And if you've been one of her clients, you'll know the moment that happens. She helped people create the future that she wanted. When that client saw the truth of their situation, found that agency, committed, and communicated it as, "This is what I will do and what I will be accountable for," lives were changed. She liked the phrase, "It doesn't matter what you believe about yourself. It only matters what you create." And another phrase I heard her use many times was, "Be careful you don't believe what you think." Each of us are our own easiest person to fool because our brains have this habit of lying to us in our own voice. She helped people see the distortion of limiting beliefs. She saved entire organizations from being held hostage by beliefs and decisions that brought suffering to the people that worked there. Over the years, her influence and mentorship led me to make leadership my focus too, after I was a chef. One of my favorite chefs is sitting right over there. Hi, Wolfgang. And then I worked as a process expert in large corporations and as a consultant. But I soon understood that nothing happens if the leader isn't behind things and they can't change the people. And so that became my focus too. In early 2022, when the Ukraine was invaded and Omicron was seeing some of my big clients curtail work, I was at a crossroads professionally. I was scared, I was stuck, and I was suffering. So Donalda and I talked about it. And she did something really unexpected. She asked me to coach her. We had 3 sessions, and I brought my best game. And at that point, I'd been doing it for over 20 years. And when it was done, she said, "Thank you," and it was useful. But then she flipped the script. And she delivered a zinger because she knew I was struggling. with what I was doing and questioning what I was doing. And she said, "Tim, you know what you're doing. You know you're the right person for this work. It makes you happy. It's never been about it being easy, so don't stop because it's tough." Letting me help her, I think she was showing me I was ready, and she was passing a torch in a way. And later that year, she had to stop working, not by her choice, but because her health made the decision for her. And she had a group of leaders at a university that she'd been working with, people that she cared deeply about, 60 of them. And they were in a very difficult space, dealing with political ramifications of something that had happened, dealing with gender issues, dealing with some abuse that was happening among leaders. And she called me in and she asked if I would take them rather than let them take their chances with someone else. She said she trusted me to take this work on, and that was a real gift. And as her own choice and agency was being stripped away, she was thinking about her clients' well-being. But her change was hard, and adjusting wasn't easy. And over the months that followed, she had to let go of a career she still wanted, feeling cheated out of work she still had to do. She wasn't ready. And at times, she was so sad that her brain lied to her in her own voice. And once, when we were in Invermere, she made this comment. She said, "It doesn't matter. Sometimes I think the work I did never mattered. No one listened. Oh yeah, they pay you, but you can't really change anything." Finally, I could deliver a zinger of my own to the master. I reminded her of the hundreds of clients that she had helped, of the confidence she had built in people, of the purpose she helped tap into, of the agency and dignity she restored when it was missing. So we talked, kept talking about the work that she loved, clients she loved working with, and the pride she felt in their success. And as an example, here are some words from Tammy, who was unable to join us today. "Donalda was with me every single day of my professional life, even on the last day I saw her in the hospital in December. And I made sure she knew that whatever success I had, she had a part in it. I can't even begin to imagine how many others could say the same thing, but I'm certain it's a lot of people. And when my daughter asked me who Donalda was, I told her she was the world leader in her profession but didn't know it. She had that rare blend of heart and head and passion that allowed her to coach people in their growth and development like no one else. There are many such stories out there, and Brandie and I gathered a few in the weeks before she died. And in the hospital, we saw her in action one last time in those final days. If you can imagine Jen and Brandie and Dave and Grace and I staying with her in that hospital room, and there being a regular stream of staff coming in, seeing to her many needs at that point. Doctors and nurses and technicians. And each time, this frail woman, racked with pain and discomfort, would shoot them that blue-eyed smile and then engage them deeply with those same sharp eyes. That was Donalda in action. She would take their hand and she would pull them close, and she would talk to them about what they cared about and how their day was going and why they were doing the work they were doing. At one point, I stepped out into the hallway, and this was right around the time where they were changing her diagnosis. And there was an x-ray technician that turned out to be a friend, Rhonda, who's here. Rhonda, can you put your hand up, please? Right over there, who I met that day. She had recognized Donalda's name on her work order. She knew her from an ovarian cancer sunshine club. And there was this heartwarming reunion in the middle of everything else going on. And Donalda listened. And she asked questions, and she reflected. And I could see her concern that this woman knew her value. On her last day, as Brandie said, Donalda had messages of encouragement for each of the grandkids. And she had private talks with each of us. And she coached me the morning of the day that she closed her eyes. And she had advice that I will never forget. And then, as she faded, hospital staff and doctors and nurses came into the room. They wanted to look into those eyes one more time. They wanted to thank her for helping. They told me in the hallway how special she was, how much her words meant. I don't know if it's normal, but her doctor left shook. She brought all of those people close. And at some point while she was staying there, she delivered that zinger that left them changed, that one that they couldn't unhear, because she couldn't turn it off. And that was how she loved. I don't want to steal Jope's thunder, but there was a psalm that I had read that spoke to me. Above all else, be mindful of your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Donalda made it her life's work to help people realize their value, so love and purpose could flow. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Well, I'm going to share with you just a couple of minutes here some of my thoughts. And in terms of Donalda's spiritual life, she deeply believed in the power of prayer. And she really wanted to believe. As the girls had put it, she believed she didn't need to advertise her beliefs whatsoever. Her beliefs were inside of herself. I know that one of her beliefs was that we should help one another and always treat each other with kindness and respect. That's what Jesus taught. Love one another, simple, and always offer gratitude. And here are some words which I believe depict Donalda very well. And they came from my thoughts in reading and looking at some of her background and knowing her. She's caring, honest, gentle, sometimes you mentioned stern, not shy, motivated. She was a hopeful person, positive and gracious. And some attributes which I believe Donalda might have lived by: work for a cause, not applause. Live life to express, not to impress. And don't strive to make your presence noticed. Just make your absence felt. Well, her absence will be felt by all of us. So today we give thanks. We give deep thanks for the life of Donalda, for the life of one who chose to share in her journey with all of us. How blessed we are for this. We should never fill a place which has now been vacated, and at least not in some human form. You can only face it with courage and have faith that time will heal and that memories will soften the wounds. But in her death, it may be said that all of you have lived in her special affection, have died just a little bit. But in her life, you've also found a richer and more abundant life. May God surround her with love and with compassion, a deep peace. May our hearts be glad that there's hope for eternal life. And not just for Donalda, but for each and every one of us. Blessed are you who weep, for you will find laughter. Amen. Well, folks, I'm going to switch it over to Silas now. He's going to put Donalda's life in pictures up on the screen. So let's take a look at what has been put together. You did it together, Jennifer? You put it together? Yep, perfect. Okay.
Let there be you, let there be me, let there be oysters under the sea, let there be wind, an occasional rain, chili con carne, sparkling champagne. Let there be birds to sing in the trees, someone to bless me whenever I sneeze. Let there be cuckoos, a lark and a dove, but first of all, please let there be love. Let there be cuckoos, a lark and a dove, but first of all, please let there be love. 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 Let there be love.
do, you're in the mood for a dance. And when you get the chance, you are the dancing queen, young and sweet, only 17. Dancing queen, feel the beat from the tambourine. Oh, yeah. You can dance, you can jive, having the time of your life. Ooh, see that girl, watch that scene, digging the dancing queen. Digging the dancing
She's a rich girl, she don't try to hide it. Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. He's a poor boy, empty as a pocket, with nothing to lose. Sing ta-na-na, ta-na-na-na. She got diamonds on the soles of her shoes. Ta-na-na, ta-na-na-na. She got diamonds on the soles of her shoes. 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 People say she's crazy, she got diamonds on the soles of her shoes. Well, that's one way to lose these walking blues. Diamonds on the soles of your shoes. She was physically forgotten, but then she slipped into my pocket with my car keys. She said, you've taken me for granted because I please you, wearing these diamonds. And I could say, ooh, as if everybody knows what I'm talking about. As if everybody here would know exactly what I was talking about. I'm talking about diamonds on the soles of her shoes. She makes the sign of a teaspoon, he makes the sign of a wave. The poor boy changes clothes and he puts on aftershave to compensate for his ordinary shoes. And she said, honey, take me dancing, but they ended up by sleeping in a doorway by the bodegas and the lights on over Broadway, wearing diamonds on the soles of their shoes. And I could say, ooh, and everybody here would know what I was talking about. I mean, everybody here would know exactly what I was talking about. I'm talking about diamonds. People say I'm crazy, I got diamonds on the soles of my shoes, yeah. Well, that's one way to lose these walking blues. Diamonds on the soles of my shoes. Ta-na-na-na, 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 ta-na-na-na.
So, well, folks, we're going to turn our voices to song one last time, and you'll find it number 282 in your red hymn book, and it's called "It Long Before the Night." It was one of Donalda's favorite songs, so you may not know it, but you're going to learn it. There you go. Long Before the Night, so let's stand if we're able. 282.
Long before the night was born from darkness, long before the dawn rolled a steady from far, long before she wrapped her scarlet arms around the hills, there was a love, this ancient love was born. Long before the grass spotted green the bare hillside, long before a wing unfolded the wind, long before she wrapped her long blue arm around the sea, there was a love, this ancient love was born. Long before a chain was forged from the hillside, long before a voice uttered freedom's cry, long before she wrapped her bleeding arms around a child, there was a love, this ancient love was born. Long before the name of God was spoken, long before a cross was nailed from a tree, long before she laid her arm of colors across the sky, there was a love, this ancient love was born. Wakeful are our nights and slumbers are morning, stubborn is the grass, sowing green wounded is. As we wrap our healing arms to hold what her arms held, this ancient love, this ancient love was
You only are immortal, the creator of all. We are mortal, formed of the earth, and to the earth shall we all return. This you ordained when you created us, saying, "You are dust, and to dust you shall return." But all of us go down to the dust. Yet even at the end we make our song. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Into your hands, O gracious God, we commend your servant Donalda. Acknowledge, we humbly pray thee, a sheep of your fold, a lamb of your flock, and a sinner of your redeeming. receive her into the arms of your mercy, into the blessed rest of everlasting peace, into the glorious company of the saints in light. May joy be with you to take to those in sadness. May peace be with you to take to those in trouble. May love be with you to take to those whose lives are empty. May God be with you to take your hand and guide you in all that you do, all that you are, and all that you will ever be. May all of you go in peace. Amen. As we listen to Into the Mystic, I would invite all of you to come into the upper hall and share in cupcakes and other various things. And by the way, this service is videoed, so it'll be on the Lakeview United Church website. You can let people know that, and they can watch it at their own time. So.
We were born before the wind, also younger than the sun. Yeah, the bonnie boat was one as we sail into the mystic. I can now hear the sailors cry, smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly into the mystic. And where that foghorn blows, I will be coming home. Yeah, when the foghorn blows, I wanna hear it. I don't have to fear it, and I wanna rock your gypsy soul, just like way back in the days of old. Yeah, magnificently we will fold into the mystic. When that foghorn blows, you know I will be coming home. And when that foghorn whistle blows, I gotta hear it. I don't have to fear it, and I wanna rock your gypsy soul, just like way back in the days of old. And together we will fold into the mystic.